You know, I've tried so many diets. I've tried all of them, basically, all of the important ones. I've even tried, you know, different routines as well. So, for example, you know, you eat before you train. You know, I ate some fruits before my training. I've tried paleo. I've tried keto. I've tried... Paleo is actually the one I went, you know, that's the first one I was exposed to before, well before, when my first attempt at calisthenics and training, that was with paleo. But I didn't understand fasting yet. I hadn't discovered fasting yet, or OMAD, or any of that. So I knew paleo, so I tried to find, you know, some form of better diet, you know, than the standard diet. So I went that way naturally. So it became that naturally, you know. So I was drawn to that, the paleo. But then eventually I cut this sweet potatoes as well, and, you know, all of that. Then I tried some keto, you know, what they typically eat, you know, avocados, all that nonsense. You know, avocados are fine. They're actually a fruit. They're fine, but it is not necessary. You can get other fruits. You don't need avocados if you don't want to, you know. You don't need the fat. You don't need the fat. There is fat on your body. Your body will produce fat from protein and your meats, and, you know, when you eat a lot, when you're in a caloric surplus, you will add fat on your body. You know, you will add simultaneously fat and muscles on your body. There is no true way of just adding muscles and no fat at all. But the closest is OMAD and, you know, a stricter diet, like a paleo-esque diet, it's not a paleo diet, I call it the core diet. That is my diet. And it is meats, perhaps organ meats also, for nutrition and energy. There is some fat there, but, you know, you only eat the fat that is there naturally in the meat and everything. You don't overconsume, or in the eggs, for example. And that's your, you know, vitamins, minerals, everything. And then hydration, your fruits, savory fruits as well. You know, most people think you only have sweet fruits. No, it's not true. You have savory fruits, which are tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, and you have, you know, potassium in them. You have, in cucumbers, you have potassium, that's great. You have, you know, in bell peppers, you have more vitamin C than in lemons and lime and so forth. So, but you can, you know, it's fine to have sweet fruits as well. Our ancestors wouldn't have, you know, oh, I gotta intermittent fast, I can't eat these fruits, you know. They would have eaten all the fruit they can find, obviously in the summer, but it depends on the region, because some regions are always, you know, warm and hot, so, and tropical. So they always have fruits. So it's not like fruits are dangerous. Sugar is not the enemy, you know, fat is not the enemy, carbohydrates is not the enemy, protein is not the enemy. None of this is the enemy. The enemy is the combination and, you know, moronic choices. And, you know, it's not just moronic, you know, most people don't know about this. So it's a lack of understanding and knowledge and research, but also, you know, self-experimentation. Don't just research all the time. You can't just wait for the research to happen. You try things. You gotta try things. So that's why I've tried all these diets. You know, I've tried basically all of them. You know, pescatarianism, veganism as well, vegetarianism. But, you know, veganism, vegetarianism lack, you know, fat-soluble vitamins. You need, and the bioavailability. You know, the body doesn't absorb these foods as well as from meat, of course, because our distant past ancestors, 2.6 million years ago, now of course that is a long time ago, but they ate, you know, mostly meat because, you know, that's the safest thing as well, but also the most obvious. You see this bison and you hunt it down and you eat it, and there's so much you can feed your whole tribe, your whole family. So, you know, but when they hunted, they also saw some fruits, perhaps some nuts as well, perhaps some roots as well, you know, true roots, not just tuberous roots. I mean, you know, a single root, for example, a carrot or turnips. So, you know, that is what I ended up eating later, like Nietzsche basically, with meats and fruits. But I tried paleo. Paleo is pretty good. It is, you know, my favorite of all these diets because, you know, it is basically the way I eat, except I cut the unnecessary sweet potatoes. I'm not South American, you know. Now, of course, if you are South American, I think South Americans can absorb this better because they adapted to this better. You know, there is some regional truth as well. You know, all humans, we are universally, we have universal traits. I always speak of universal traits, but we also have, you know, differences. All right, we can't deny our differences. This is the truth. All right, and basically no one speaks of this, but it is true. There are books about this. There are books about this. You know, regional individualistic diets. And that is basically what you have to find, you know, your individual diet, your diet. And the only way is through experimentation, perhaps even asking, you know, your grandmother, grandfather about diet and how they ate and so forth. That's what I've done actually. And it's pretty interesting what came out of it. You know, my grandmother actually had a brain as well. You know, they ate some brains, they ate organs. They didn't eat raw. You know, they never ate raw. She never ate raw up in the mountains, you know, but they had, you know, clean water, perfectly clean water, you know, up in the mountains. Clean goats, you know, or lamb meat, you know. My great-grandfather, you know, he was a herdsman. So, you know, they had some fruits, but they had, you know, they had some fruits during winter as well, but not like we have, you know, we have a lot. But also, you know, I'm also training a lot, and I'm also dry fasting. They didn't dry fast, you know, but they naturally just ate once or twice during the day and so forth. So, but that's more a routine thing. But then you have diet, all right? So they had, you know, grains and bread, but they didn't overeat bread, and they prepared it in a traditional manner. And, you know, the yeast, it has been there, you know, used and reused. My great-grandmother, she always saved up a part of the bread for next time. They didn't just buy new yeast all the time. They didn't, you know, they couldn't do that. So, you know, they always, you know, and they made sourdough bread and so forth. So that's the way you do it, and you don't overconsume it, of course. But, and we know from Spartans that they didn't overconsume bread. They ate more meat and fruits and figs and stuff like that. The keto diet, so there is a problem with a lot of these diets until you find your own diet, all right? So, you know, I had some issues with the carnivore diet, you know, there is some lack of sleep there. And, you know, of course you gotta adapt, but it seems to me all of them are fragile, all right? If you look at all these carnivores, all of them are basically like vegans as well, you know, all fragile. None of them are strong and resilient in mind as well. We're talking about, you know, mental capacity as well, not just your body, all right? Both. So we always want to be ready and efficient and working and so forth. I don't want to be lazy and still and, you know, motionless. That's the opposite of life, all right? Life is motion, motion is life, stillness is death. So you got to find your diet. But, you know, I tried all of them. So veganism, lack of nutrition. Keto diet makes no sense. Obsession with fat, there is no need for that unless you're healing something for therapy. And, you know, even then, you know, you can still do my diet and still there is, you know, it's not that inflammatory at all. You eat, you know, in an hour or, you know, in 2 hours, but that's max, 2 hours max, if you want to gain more, and, you know, but if you want to maintain, 1 hour is enough, more than enough. And you start burning fat as well. So that's the way. You burn fat, you build muscle, you eat a lot of protein, but you gotta eat a lot during this hour. You gotta eat a lot, but you don't feast, you know, you eat it fast in 1 hour or even shorter, Actually, I eat basically in a half an hour or 40 minutes, and then I relax a little bit, usually. And then I try to, I just relax. The same way I train, basically. I do fast motion, bursts in the beginning when I train, push-ups, for example. But then, then afterwards it's a bit slower. Naturally, it becomes that naturally. But, so there is basically a problem with all of these, Keto diet makes no sense from evolution. Veganism, of course. Pescatarianism is pretty good. You get your omega-3, you get a lot of nutrition there. But, pescatarianism with what? With rice, with just, you can't do this. It is possible. So it is pretty good. It is basically what I'm doing, It's just you eat more fish instead of the meats, and which is fine. It's all fine. Fish is meat. So most of these diets are better than the standard diet, but that's easy. That's very easy to say, And also, by the way, in the vegan diet, it's complex. You gotta eat all these supplements to get your B vitamins, and it's not enjoyable. Now, of course, you can do this if you want to, but it's one, not enjoyable to eat pills. Two, our bodies didn't evolve to eat pills. And three, the pills aren't as, well, that's with the second there. The pills aren't as well absorbed by the body like food, because we are from nature, We're not artificial. We're from nature. We're natural creatures. So our bodies evolved along with, fruits and meats and true roots and nuts and, and obviously grains, wild grains. Our past ancestors, they would have eaten some wild grains, but it takes time to create grains and agriculture. It takes a lot of time there. It's complex, But of course, that was important for civilization. Without, agriculture, civilization wouldn't have become civilization. I understand this. But are we here for every single person? No, I'm here for the greats. I want to have the greats, all right? And the greats don't need grains. We don't need grains. They're inflammatory. We're not made to eat, processed grains. We're made to eat fruits, vegetables, perhaps some true roots, some nuts, and that's it. Perhaps, even some dairy, but even dairy it's unnecessary. You only need milk when you're a baby. That's it. All right, so that's it. And if you have problems with diet and performance or weight loss with diet, you can contact me. Email is down below. You can message me on Facebook. You can add me on Facebook. I use Facebook, of course, for reaching out to you people, but of course I don't use these social media things. And like always, keep on focusing on yourself, keep on, bettering yourself. It's not actually better, but get to your higher desire, eliminate these nonsense foods. You don't need anything except meats and fruits. Perhaps if you want to, some carrots and some walnuts. That's it. That's it. You don't have to eat exactly those, but and I will see you tomorrow.